Hello, welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. If you are just joining us for the very first time, thank you very much for being here. If you are returning, also thank you very much for just coming back and tolerating me more than anything. Well, it's really appreciated. I love having a yap, and having people who continually listen week in, week out is fucking pretty cool, to be completely honest with you. As you can see, today, I have somebody here with me. And I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
All right. My name's Coen. This is my first podcast I've ever been on.
I'm not going to lie, I did stitch him up there by not introducing you. I just wanted to see how he went with it.
Yeah, my name's Coen. I've known Josh for, how long have I known you for?
6 years or something, 5 years.
Yeah, first day I moved, longer than that now, in year 7.
Yeah.
First day I moved to Gold Coast was, first day I met you.
We met before that.
Sunshine Coast?
I know we met through Kelly, and then when you moved down, we just moved in together.
Yeah, like straight up. Random.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I am a online nutrition and training coach. That's kind of how me and Josh, not really reconnected, we've always been connected, but I guess reconnected slightly. I grew up in a small country town and then in Maryborough, northern-ish Queensland. Lived in Brisbane for a little bit, Sunshine Coast for a little bit, and then ended up on Gold Coast. And yeah, I've done a lot of different things in terms of work leading to where I am now. Do you want me to chat about them? Or?
Go for gold, absolutely.
Beautiful. So since I have been young, I've done so many different jobs, different university degrees, spent a house deposit on different university degrees. So essentially, grew up in a small country town, like I mentioned, farm work, soccer refereeing, and then I moved to Brisbane to play soccer, and did an injury. And then once I'd done my injury, I thought, shit, I need to get a job and start adulting. So I ended up getting a job in childcare, which is a little bit rogue. And I started studying.
It's risky these days.
I started studying to become a teacher. And that was a relatively short-lived university degree. Went for about a semester and a half. Did my first placement and decided it absolutely was not for me. So then I decided, hey, what do I enjoy doing? And gym was something that I enjoyed doing. So decided I'd become a PT. Was a PT for about a year, and then I thought, hey, there's definitely more than just rocking up, training people day in, day out. It got a little bit repetitive. So I thought, hey, I've always wanted to become a physio because I went through that whole physio process when I injured myself in Brisbane playing soccer. So I thought, why not? I'm going to sign up to Sport and Exercise Science to see if I could become a physiotherapist or do the bridging course to become one. And I failed every subject. So there's another university degree with an X through it. So I went back to PT, did PT for a couple more years, and then thought, hey, no, I really want to give this a shot. Mind you, the first time I did sport and exercise science, my mental health definitely wasn't all great, and that's partly the reason why I guess, failed subjects. Anyway, back to PT, did it for a couple of years, and I got into a great mental space and thought I'd give it another go. Signed up to a different university to do sport and exercise science, ended up nearly topping the degree out of like 300 people, and got accepted into physiotherapy, which brought me to the Gold Coast. Studied for a few years, become a physio for all of about 7 weeks, then discovered that I didn't love rubbing backs for a living, and I hated being in a 3x3 room because it was also, again, horrible for my mental health. So then I went back to what I was doing while I was studying to become a physiotherapist, which was online coaching. So that's quite literally led me to where I am now, just being a full-time online coach, living the dream.
And I'm going to interrupt on that because he's kind of downplaying it a little bit in terms of being an online coach. Now, for those who may not know, please inform us on what caliber of online coach you are and what you've actually managed to build, because a lot of people's perception of like online coaching is you're essentially trading not necessarily time for money as much, like very much similar to what I do. You know, you're able to scale it more, you're able to work with more clients, you're able to do all this sort of stuff. It's way less time on the gym floor. But give us a little bit of a rundown as to what you've actually built.
Yeah, so when I started online coaching, it was a while ago now. It would have been 5 years ago. I started online coaching while I was at uni. Loved it, mind you, but I knew, hey, I'm doing this university degree. I can't pull out of another degree, so I just stuck to it. To be honest, I knew a couple of years in that it wasn't for me, and I really loved the online space. So yeah, I stuck to it. It was just me working on my business, and then I got to a situation once I left physiotherapy. I put myself in a situation like, hey, look, I'm not going to be a physio. I need to take this seriously. I'm now an online coach, so I just pretty much dove straight in. Mind you, it was an absolute grind. It would have been probably a 3-year period when I was working absolute bare minimum 70, 75-hour weeks. Like I was in the business. And then I got to a situation where I was completely at capacity. Social media started to take off. And then I hired my first PA/nutritionist. And then she helped me build. And it's kind of got into a little bit of a situation where it was like a rinse and repeat, where I'd build a bit more, hire another nutritionist, build a bit more, hire another nutritionist. Fast forward to today, and I've got 7 nutritionists, dietitians working for me, 1 sport and exercise physiologist. And yeah, that's where I'm at now. Run a bit of a team. I'm no longer working in my business. I'm working on my business, which was, I guess, the goal. Help as many people as I possibly can. And I knew if I was constantly working in my business, I could only max coach 60, 70 people at a time. So I guess now I'm in a situation where I mentor and help our nutritionists and dietitians, but I also help scale the business and work on pretty much providing the best service that I possibly can.
Yeah. Do you want to give it a plug? You can actually say the name of it if you
Reform
like.
Nutrition and Training.
I was waiting the whole time for you to say it. You just didn't say it. And I was like, everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, yep. Is it just Coen Nutrition?
Reform Nutrition and Training. Give me a follow.
Yeah, honestly. And I kind of mentioned it, but basically, like we've known each other for, it'd have to be longer than 7 years because I've been PTing for 7 years. And I started PTing when we first moved in together. I was still at my previous full-time job and I was just making that transition. Like I probably would have only been, I literally got my first PT job when we were living in that house together. Yep. And Coen was actually one of my original quote unquote like mentors / people that I would go to for advice because we were living together at the time. It was him, myself, and one of our other really good mates, Chow. And it basically become like the bro house. We all loved training. We all loved like, it was a really, really good environment and fucking so positive because I'd lived in like share houses and stuff like that in the past. A little bit shit. It just sucks sometimes living with some people. It's just people have habits, and I found, I mean, wasn't without going through a couple of roommates first, but we ended up with the boys. And funnily enough, the exact house that I'm in right now, it is actually a street over, and it is a copy and paste of this exact house. So it's almost identical. It's almost a full circle moment coming back here. And within that, obviously, Coen helped. I would ask him questions about, what the fuck do I do for PT? Like, how do I actually build this into a business? He was here. Him and Chow got to witness my fucking 3 a.m. wake ups and 8 p.m. finishes and just trying to survive and build a business. And we all kind of just bounced off of each other whilst he was also studying and everything like that. And that was pretty much around the time that he started to dabble a little bit in the online coaching from memory, helping out a few of the boys and things like that, which was fucking cool. I think that was our prime Kelly days. Back when we were calisthenics kings, living down at the fucking Burley bars and hanging out with all the crew. And then when I actually went back full time myself last year after leaving my previous role, spoke with Coen. He was looking for someone to jump in and help out a little bit with the programming side of things. As he mentioned, he'd scaled the business to a point where he physically couldn't take care of everybody and still provide the same level of service. So I actually took over the online programming side of things for that, which was like amazing for me at that point in time. More so from the ability to like just help me out a little bit financially, but then also provide a little bit of security and everything like that, whilst also then being able to help out Coen with keeping that business side of him for him pushing and growing and exactly that, like trying to provide the best level of service that we could to ensure that the business kept growing as a whole, and fucking did a pretty good job. And it's
absolute lifesaver.
It's been pretty cool to both ends. I think he said, I remember when I wrapped up recently within that role just because my own business kind of got to a point where I was like, I needed to get more time in my day and weeks and everything like that for everything that I've been doing with my business and the podcast and everything like that. And I was like, I almost felt really bad leaving because I was like, I've enjoyed my time. I've enjoyed working with the clients. We transitioned from one app to another, and that was like a hell of a lot of work from everyone involved to get that process up and running, and all under the guise of just giving a fuck about the clients. And that was one of my favorite things, and why I was more than happy to go and do work with Co was because I knew that he actually cared about the people he worked with, and it wasn't just, numbers on a sheet or anything like that, which can very much happen within this space, especially once online coaches start to scale to a certain degree. I find that a lot of them lose just a little bit of that care. And it's not from a lack of wanting to care. I think it just comes from a lack of time, patience, energy.
100%.
Like, it becomes hard. You reach a point, as you mentioned, right? Like around that 60 to 70 mark, you're capped in a week.
Sure.
And that's 70, 80, 90-hour weeks, not including content, not including training, eating, living, sleeping, life, fucking actually looking after your own mental health and things like that as well. But it's been really fucking cool to see the scale with which obviously you've grown. And I remember you building your following off of like TikTok and then transferring it over to in them, just watching your Instagram go up. And we was just always like, fuck, it's grown again, and it's grown again, and it's grown again. And I saw you go full time. And I remember seeing you last like 5 weeks in physio. And I think I messaged you at the time, and I was like, that went real well, didn't it?
Short-lived.
But there's a common theme that he did mention throughout, pretty much from the time with which he started talking to the last thing he was talking about just then. And it all was coming back to around that mental health side of things. Now, I know I've actually mentioned it on here multiple times. I spoke about it again a couple of weeks ago when I was discussing 10 lessons in fucking 29 years. How way back in the day, it was around 2021, where I had a friend tell me that it was, oh, hey, you can actually go to a GP and set up a mental health plan. From there, you'll get referred through to a psychologist. They'll be able to talk you through the process and help you out with all of that. And the person who actually did that was Coen. So Coen was the person at that point in my life who helped show me that there was actually a better way to be able to deal with these things. And that's because he had come from a place of having to do that himself. So that for me was essentially the catalyst of change for for the rest of my life so far. That essentially really sparked me seeking help in a more productive way, in a more proactive way, actually going to see a professional, going to discuss things properly with somebody who can dive deeper into, why I am the way I am, how to help me, how I can create actionable steps that is going to help me through the rest of my life, through the rest of my days, etc. And one of the big reasons why I did want to get Coen on the potty was both to talk about, the growth which he has had throughout the entirety of his life, but also because I still think to this day that mental health is a little bit stigmatized to a degree. In certain avenues, there's definitely a lot of discussions had about it. But in the realm of what you would consider manly, it's not necessarily as well received. And I figured Coen's a fucking perfect example of this as well. He's very similar to myself, trains hard, loves being at the beach, surfing, all these activities, all these different things, has built a fucking incredibly successful business, has gone and spent, as he said, a house deposit on physio degrees and everything like that, that he's then walked away from to prioritize his mental health. And I think that in itself is so fucking amazing, because so many people, and I know we know people like this, they get stuck in what they're doing because they've invested the time, they've invested the money, they've invested the energy, and they're like, I can't walk away from this. I've invested the time. It's like, it's not the case. And I think if more people really understood that you can essentially restart your life at any point and redo anything you want to do at any time. There's no real fucking point with which you have to stay doing the exact thing that you're doing now if you're feeling stuck or feeling down.
For sure.
But I wanted you to sort of talk about as much as you feel comfortable with
for sure.
where your journey started within that.
Yeah.
Where you've gotten to now, because I know when we were working together, we were speaking about going back to a psychologist, and I think we both actually started at very similar times, going back to see one again.
For sure.
So yeah, give us a little bit of an insight into the earlier days, where that stemmed and where that sort of brought you through the years.
For sure. I mean, for me, from a mental health perspective, I have had, I guess, issues with mental health on and off for the last 15 years, probably. So since I was probably around 17. And it was something that was around, that it wasn't around, and it was like back and forward. But again, I grew up similar to you in, like, I guess Townsville's a bit bigger, but a country kind of town. And there is that stigma growing up. Even if people don't talk about it, there absolutely is a stigma about you shouldn't have mental health issues. It's not a thing, or you'd be weak if you talk about it. And I honestly held on to that even subconsciously, and I still do. And I'm the first person, I do post quite often being like if anyone did a post the other week being like, I have struggled with mental health and I do on and off, and I'm active about it. If anyone needs help or needs someone to talk to, shoot me a message. Because even after doing one post, I had 3 people shoot me a message asking for help. They just, being a bloke, they didn't even know what to do. And that's the issue. I feel like the massive issue is blokes knowing that they don't have great mental health, but not knowing the right steps to take. For me personally, yeah, as I said, mental health, I guess, a decline started when I was around 17. I was good for a couple of years, and then I'd be pretty much on a repeat every 18 months. I would have a steep decline. I did go see someone when I was around 19, 20, did help, but I ended up moving, and then I just honestly didn't have the balls to go see someone again, and I didn't want to talk about it, and I kind of held on to a lot, and I would always be trying to work on myself, as I said, like always going out and training, always doing the right things, being super healthy, barely drinking. And then recently, probably the last 5 years, it's been fluctuating quite a lot again. And similar to when was that, probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago?
Yeah, somewhere around that. Yeah, 8, 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to a stage where, to be honest, my mental health was nearly by far the worst it's ever been. To the point where I had to tell my staff, hey, look, I'm not coping right now. If you need me, talk to me. But I was in a situation where I was quite literally bedridden for, I'd say, 6 weeks. And that's got me to the point where I had to see someone. Like, my roommate was worried about me. She didn't want to go to work. And then I decided, this is ridiculous. Like, this is a joke. I'm a fully grown male, and I'm not seeking help. And I would talk about, it's important to seek help, but I wasn't actually following it myself. So then, yeah, booked in, saw help. And I guess for me, I'm just talking on my own half, but the biggest thing I got out of seeking help was them kind of validating why I feel the way that I feel. Like, I knew I felt that way, but I thought there was something wrong with me. And my psychologist kind of just explained to me, like, hey, this completely makes sense the way you feel because of this, 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 and this. So I guess that's the biggest positive impact that I've had from seeking help, just knowing that it's normal and giving me explanations as to why I feel the way that I feel and giving me tools that I can use to improve my mental health, essentially. But yeah, if anyone, especially blokes, 20s, early 30s, is thinking about seeing someone, it's free. Like, you can go to a GP and you can actually see someone. And when you do see someone, like, they're so lovely about it. Like, they're so understanding. And like, I know for me, like, when I went back to see a GP, like, I was struggling talking. Like, I couldn't get my words out talking to the GP, and he was the nicest bloke ever. And then he referred me to a psychologist, and again, so nice, like ridiculously nice, understanding. When you do go to these sessions, just so you do know, because I know I always work myself up being like, I'm going to have to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. You don't have to talk about anything, right? You could literally sit there. I remember my psychologist said, I rocked up and I just started bawling my eyes out. And he said to me, he goes, mate, you don't even have to talk to me. Like, we can just sit here for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And if that's going to help, then let's just do that. And they don't force you to say anything. They don't force you to do anything. It's all 100% on your terms. And you do build a relationship with them and you get super comfortable with them. And yeah, you progress 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, as I said, there was a reason I wanted to get him on here and this was one of the biggest reasons, is because having this discussion, and I think I know myself when I've spoken about it online, I have people reach out to me. And sometimes it's people you don't even realize. It's 100%. Like, I'll get the most random messages sometime and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, you don't realize the impact that it has on you being brave enough to talk. And that's why it's something I've talked about ever since I first really went through it. Because I remember being so scared. I remember when you told me to go to the GP, and I booked in, and I walked in and I was like shaking. I was nearly in fucking tears trying to tell this doctor. And I'd seen this doctor quite a few times. He was like your typical old grumpy Australian doctor. And I walked in and he knew straight away there was something wrong. And I just said to him, I was like, I'm really struggling. And his tone changed, his demeanor changed. He became the kindest, softest spoken man I've ever spoken to. He helped me. He just, really tried to drive home the fact of like, we're going to get through this together. I'll help you through the process of going to find the psychologist. Anything you need, let me know. Like, we can all work through this as a team. And exactly that, like every psychologist I've ever worked with, and I've worked with 3 or 4 different ones now, they've all been vastly different. Yeah, it's one of those things that like, exactly that. You do have this like preconceived idea that they're going to judge you to a degree, and you go in there and you're like, fuck, I'm sad, and they're gonna think less of me for that because I'm a man and I'm not meant to be sad and I'm not meant to be this, and I'm just meant to get over it and deal with it and suck it up and like all of this different stuff. And it's never got anyone anywhere positive. Sucking it up only leads to worse things happening. There's a couple of things you mentioned within there around like conscious and subconscious and things like that, sure. and discussions around that. And with that, like when you do seek help for the first time, it's going to be scary as fuck. It's hard. It's not fucking easy. Tough. And as Coen mentioned, you can talk about as much or as little as you want. Yeah. Like you dictate the sessions. You can go in there and not talk about anything. You can sit there. Yeah. Do whatever the fuck you want. I had a psychologist say the same thing because I was like, so what do we actually talk about? Yeah. She's like, nothing if you don't want to. You just hang out. And I was like, oh, but that's not going to help. She's like,
I'm not wasting my time.
I was like, oh, but that's not going to help. She's like, exactly. Yeah. It's like, she goes, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here to help. I'm here with whatever you need. I'm here to help as much as you want me to. I'm here to help as little as you want me to. And if you've already taken the first step to reach out, if you've already taken the first step to go to a GP, that is arguably the hardest step. That's the hardest thing to do, is to go to a GP and admit to yourself, I need help. If you've already done that, you may as well do yourself the service of actually talking about what's going on.
For sure, 100%.
And even understanding that like the things you say are 100% confidential. Nobody's going to find out about them. You can tell them your innermost thought processes, feelings, fears, dreams, goals, whatever the case might be. Like you can talk to these people, to psychologists, to psychiatrists about these stuff, and it's not going anywhere. It's not as if it's like your best mate and you fucking tell them and then somehow someone else finds out and then someone else finds out. It's a very confidential and private thing. And that is a very for me, it was a really freeing feeling. There was things that I could tell this psychologist that I hadn't been able to talk to anybody about, because in my own head, I was like, I'm so fucking broken. There's so many things wrong with me. Like this is such an issue. And as Coen mentioned, when you actually speak about those things and then they come to you and they're like, okay, cool. And they just sit with it. They allow you to sit with it. They come up with some tools to implement. They come up with some actionable steps that you can take place. There's different sorts of fucking activities. You get homework. I remember mine gave me homework sometimes and I was like, do I actually have to do this? She's like, you don't have to do anything. Like there's nothing that you have to do. But if you want to help yourself, it's going to be one of those things that you're going to probably want to do.
Strategies. Yeah. So much stuff to think about, all mental, and I think on that note, the biggest thing is yes, you're getting help, but the carry-on effect that it has, I knew if I could sort my shit out, I knew that I would be a better boss. I knew that I would have better relationships. I knew that everything just got better. My productivity got better. It's not just you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for everybody who you care around you as well. And that's the biggest thing that I noticed. Me, I will, as you can see, I will sit down and I'll grind shit out and get shit done. I'm the kind of person that if something has to be done, I'll just do it. Even however it makes me feel, I'm going to get it done. So I could sit with myself feeling like shit forever, but if I know by me making myself better, it's going to make me better, like I said, for my staff, better for my family, my friends, and everything else, then I'm going to do it. Yep. It's going to impact everyone else around me. And that's who I care about.
100%. And that's a very similar sentiment that I've spoken about a couple of times, is the work that I've been doing and have discussed on this podcast over the last fucking nearly 12 months now, and the growth that I've gone through has absolutely benefited me, without a doubt.
Sure.
But it's benefited every single other person around me. It's benefited my clients. It's benefited my family. It's benefited friends, relationships that I've had, personal, otherwise, etc. Like, it's allowing me to show up better for myself, to show up better for others. And I remember when Co was going through the stuff more towards the back end of last year, and he spoke to me and just said, hey, look, just need you to help me out a little bit for this at the moment. And for me, it was one of those things that was like, without a doubt, it was straight. I was like, sweet dude, anything you need, you let me know. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And it wasn't coming from a place of me trying to fix the problem for him. And this is, I think, something that as blokes, we can definitely teach others. Sometimes if your friends come to you and they're struggling, or they're willing to open up to you that they're struggling, they don't need you to fix it. They don't need the answers. Half the time, they actually probably know the answers themselves. They don't need the answers. They purely just need to either be able to express it and understand and feel seen, heard, etc. Or they just need you to understand a reason as to why things might not be getting done. Because if somebody was to come to you, if your boss was to just come to you one day and they're snapping, they're short, they're blunt, they're angry, they're not getting their work done, they're not doing this, you're probably going to sit there and be like, oh, fuck, why is this dude doing this? Like, he's fucking us over, he's doing this, etc. But if he's able to turn around and say, hey, there's some things going on personally for me, just need a little bit of grace, I'm going to keep on top of doing the things, you're going to be more understanding, you're going to be more accepting, and you're going to be sitting there and willing to be like, okay, cool, there's a reason for this. And exactly that, when Coen sort of mentioned it to me, and I just said to him, I was like, dude, anything you need, I'm here. And I knew that me helping him from a personal perspective wasn't what he needed. I was like, if I can ease a little bit of the load with some of the work stuff for the interim, if I can help out by taking a few extra calls, or if I can help out by taking on a little bit of the extra load for the next few weeks just to help you get your mind right, that was what he needed, more so than me being like, oh, well, have you tried this solution? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Because as we both just said, like, 9 times out of 10, we know the solution. We just need the capacity to actually allow ourselves to get there. And if that means taking, 5 to 10% off of your day, and that allows you the extra time, grace, love, compassion for yourself, that you're then able to do that, sit with yourself. I know you love going to the beach as much as I do. You live on the beach, so you definitely love going to the beach. I know you steal your neighbor's dog and hang out with the dog a lot. Like, all of these little things, I think it's super, super important. And similarly, years and years and years ago, when I first turned around, and I don't even think I actually told you that I was struggling, but you kind of just picked up on it. And then it got to a point where I was like, hey, yeah, I'm really fucked. I'm really bad. I'm not great. I'm fucking struggling. And there wasn't any real point in time where you were like trying to provide the solutions for me. It was, you were just there to listen, and you were just like, hey, go and try this. Go to the GP, go and talk to a psychologist, etc. And similarly, when Coen was going through the same stuff, I was like, have you chatted to your psychologist recently? Have you gone back to a psychologist? Like, is there one that you know of around that you could go and chat to? And I've seen it myself. I know you've seen it yourself. As you said, like, it helps business.
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps you not only from a business sense because you're more productive, you're able to deal with things a bit better emotionally, your emotional regulation is better. It helps with staff. It helps with being able to be relatable to people. And I think that that's a lost art.
100%. And it gets easier. Now, my mental health right now is great. Unreal. Like, loving life, everything's sweet. But I know that, trending off my last 15 years, I'm going to have highs and lows. Everyone has highs and lows. But I know now how to manage the lows way better than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I guess, yes, I may have another low, but I know I can absolutely manage it way better than I previously did.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes down to learning those tools and what works for you. Because I know that not what works for one person is going to work for everybody. That's the same across the board, no matter what you're doing in life. For me personally, I'm massive on journaling. I can sit there and just write everything in my head. And that helps me more than anything else will. I can sit down by the beach and I just write. And I'll go down and do that 2, 3, 4 times a week. And that to me helps me to keep myself just on a little bit more of an even rung. because there's always going to be ebbs and flows. There's ebbs and flows in everything we do as human beings. It's just a fact of life. But as Coen said, like learning these tools, learning these ways in which we can actually implement things to help ourselves better long term allows us to get out of these ebbs a little bit easier. If you can bring yourself out of like a down from, being down for 2-3 weeks and make it a few days, that's fucking going to benefit you massively. If you can create actionable steps that actually allow you to work your way through it in a more positive way.
Even being able to pick up on it early.
Yes.
Massive thing. If I start to feel like, hey, like I'm not, because it gradually, for me personally, it gradually comes over like a 4-week period. Like, oh, I'm starting to feel a bit shit. And then like, if I start to feel a bit shit, I know exactly what I need to do to make sure it doesn't keep declining.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And it's having that honest conversation with yourself. It's having that honest conversation with potentially those around you, in your partner, in your friends. Like there's times where I have to step back from friends and just say, hey, look, at the moment, not exactly firing on all cylinders.
Sure.
And that's just protecting your own peace. And that's something I've spoken about quite a lot on this podcast. It's something I've spoken about on Instagram is it's not selfish to put yourself first and look after yourself, because by you doing that, and we've mentioned it multiple times now, by you putting yourself first, you're able to show up better for others. You're able to show up better as the person you want to be. And you don't run the risk of more of a mental health decline. You don't run the risk of accidentally biting someone's head off when you don't want to. You don't run the risk of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, because we've all fucking been there.
For sure.
We've all just been, bit down. Something might have happened. You get cut off on the way to work and you're fucking a bit angry and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're screaming at the coffee lady because she fucking added caramel syrup that's not non-sugar based or something like that to your coffee. And you're just like, that's the worst thing that's ever happened. When in reality, it's actually not.
Life's not that bad.
Life's not that bad. And I mean, we've got a pretty good lifestyle here on the Gold Coast, to be fair. But the same sentiment just keeps coming back. And that is like prioritizing yourself is not selfish. Looking after yourself and your own mental health first is one of the best things you can do for others around you. Not even just for yourself. It's going to help you for sure. But it also helps those around you a hell of a lot more. And the first step is 1,000% the scariest. Like, there's nothing more scary than you first either admitting to yourself that you need help, admitting to a friend that you need help, or actually booking in the appointment, going to see the GP and being like, I'm struggling. And I think once you overcome that first hurdle, it all just gets a little bit easier. It all just gets a little bit more manageable. Instead of your head being scrambled and jumbled and everything like that, now it becomes a little bit more, okay, that we can actually work through this. We can get through this. There's some steps in place that we can do. We can implement different strategies and things like that. And I've spoken about it before on here too. You don't have to just go back to a GP and set up a mental health plan if you're struggling. You can actually do it if you're feeling really, really fucking good. I know myself at the start of this year, going back to my GP and saying, hey, I'm doing fucking amazing, but I would like to potentially look at going back to a psychologist, because now that I'm in a really, really good spot, there's a few other things I'd like to work on that I don't want to have to work on when I'm at like fucking dire straits at the bottom of the rung. And I want to really be able to proactively work on these things to continue to show up better for my future self.
Yeah. On that note, while I remember, I was the kind of person that I'd be like, whenever I had really bad mental health, I'd be like, as soon as I start to feel better, I'm going to go and see someone so I don't let this happen again. And whenever I felt better, I never went to see anybody, because I'm like, oh, no, I'm good now, I'm sweet.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person, like for me, it was so nerve-wracking for me to go see someone when I felt that way, because I knew as soon as I would talk, I'd just break down and be a mess. If you're like that, actually go see someone when you feel good. It's not weird to go see a psychologist when you feel 100% sweet. If you're someone whose mental health goes up and down, when you feel great, go see them and let them know, hey, I quite often do feel down. This is how I feel when I do feel that way. And they'll give you some tools there and then.
Yeah, 100%. And I mentioned it before. When I first went back to my psychologist this time around, I remember getting on the call with her, and I'm sure it's probably more often than not that they're just used to people coming to them at like the absolute bottom,
100%.
at the base of where they're going to be, rock bottom. They're really, really struggling. I remember getting on the call with her, and I was like, hey, I'm doing really fucking well. Like, everything's great, business is going well, training's going well. Like my whole life at the moment is actually great, but there's a few things I'd really like to work on now. And that actually allowed me to, she finished the session. She's like, oh yeah, so we've actually skipped like the first 5 sessions with the work you've been doing at the moment. And I was very much somebody who I would always do all of these like things. I would journal, I would meditate, I would take time for myself, I would go to the beach, I'd spend time in nature, I'd spend time with friends when I was struggling. And then as soon as I get back to like baseline, I'd throw all of that out the window and be like, I don't need any of that anymore. I'm good. I'm fucking, why would I need to continue to do that? And something that I promised myself I would do this year is stick with doing the things that made me feel good, even when I still feel good.
Yeah.
First few times journaling, I've got entries where it's like, I actually don't know what to write here. That's how I started the journal. I was like, I don't know what to write here. I'm feeling fucking amazing. Everything's going really well. And then all of a sudden I've still written 4 pages. Because even when we're processing things really well, when things are going quite well for us, when we're sort of all firing on all cylinders, there's still probably things that we can work with. There's still probably things we can work through. And coming at them from more of a positive place rather than a negative space actually opens your eyes to more opportunities.
For sure.
Opens your eyes to more things that you're actually able to work through, maybe looking at things through a different lens than you had previously. I know within the first call, although I said to my psychologist, I was like, hey, I'm fucking amazing. Everything's feeling great at the moment. There was like still 3 or 4 things that she was like, hey, we can really work on this and start to dive a little bit deeper into why you feel these ways or how things are going to help you in the future. And, you know, how do you want to continue to show up for yourself? How do you want to continue to show up for other people? So psychologists aren't just there when you're bad.
No.
They're there when you're good. And you can still go and set up a GP mental health plan. It's heavily reduced, if not free, and the government are actually massive on it. I remember speaking to my GP and I was like, I feel a bit bad because like I don't want to take it away from someone else. And he's like, no, they want you to be proactive now. They don't want it to be a reactivity thing. They want you to be proactive. So I think that pretty much fucking summarizes everything pretty well, to be honest. Yeah, look after yourself. And I'm glad that like, you know, I know Coen is the way Coen is because we've been friends for years now, and we've always been able to relate on this stuff. We've always been able to talk very openly about things we're struggling with, the way in which we're feeling, probably more so than I maybe would talk with other friends and things like that. And that's because we can relate to each other and we have that sort of level of connection that allows us to do that. If you don't have someone like that, go to a psychologist. If you do have someone like that, still go to a psychologist, but thank that person fucking massively because it's very rare to have people like that in your corner, no matter what. And I think if there's one thing you can take away from this, one lesson is that A, it's not weak to speak. It's not weak to reach out. It's none of those things. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your future, whatever that might look like for you, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whatever the case might be. It's only going to benefit you long term. Perfect.
Couldn't agree more.
But before we wrap up, I have 3 questions for you.
Here we go.
They're not actually that bad.
Oh, okay.
They're a little bit more lighthearted. So first things first, they're the same questions I ask every single person. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? This would be a good one.
Do what makes you happy. 100%. Do what makes you happy. Like, worst situation, for me, I don't know. I say this to myself all the time. Worst situation, I move back home with my parents and start over again. At the end of the day, life's too short. Don't stick to the norm. If you're someone who is in a job that you hate, the only person that's going to do the work, the only person that will get you out of your slump or will get you your dream job or career or whatever it may be is you. No one will ever do the work for you. So, yeah.
Perfect. I already know the answer to this one. What's your favorite animal?
I actually got a few.
Okay.
Domestic.
Go for it. Whatever. All right. Sweet.
But I love dogs. Massive dog guy. However, I would love a pet wombat or, hear me out, an otter.
Okay.
A sea otter, actually.
Yep.
Like, you know, they go on their backs and like little hands up.
You just can put it in the pool or something?
Wombat or otter.
Just throw it up on
Dream.
the rooftop pool.
I've even tried to convince my mum to be a foster mum for wombats.
She could do that.
I said I'd come home so much more.
You probably-
Dogs, wombats, otters, whatever order.
Perfect. All right, good. I like that. And the big one, and sort of the basis around the whole podcast, is what does strength mean to you?
Strength mean to me? I actually don't, when I think of strength, I don't think of it from a physical perspective.
Perfect. Good.
I think about, as soon as I think of like strength, I think of, sounds weird, but like consistency.
That's everyone. This is the question that stumps a lot of people because they
Never thought
immediately
about
attach it to physical. But the whole premise behind the podcast is strength across physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, all the different aspects of what strength is.
For me, it's consistency, because I feel like it's so easy and there's so many temptations in life that could pull you off the path that you're on. And I feel like if you consistently show up for yourself every single day, do the 1%ers, then that's strong. That's hard. That's hard to do. It's hard to do the boring 1%ers day in, day out to put you on the right path where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that's consistency. That's what it is for me.
Fucking love that. That is perfect. And that is the perfect way to wrap it up. If people want to find you,
Yes.
plug your socials.
Reform.nutrition.training on Instagram.
Perfect. He does have a private account too. You can probably find that as well.
Yeah, you could probably find that.
And on TikTok.
I actually don't know my TikTok name or my Facebook name.
Do you even use Facebook much?
Mate, I've got a Facebook following.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All the like mums and stuff?
Yeah, mums.
I fucking bet it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. TikTok. Yeah, TikTok's a...
I think my TikTok's like Coen Sealey.fit or something like that. But if you go reform.nutrition.training on Instagram,
Just find him on Instagram.
That's your best bet.
You'll find him. Post up a heap of fucking really good recipes. Post up a heap of really good content. Super useful, super helpful. Go and give it a follow. And thank you very much for being here, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Appreciate your
for having me.
time. Everyone who's listened, thank you very much. And I'll speak to you on the next one.
See you guys.